welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Money with Friends. Every single Wednesday, we come to you. I always say to your house, your home, and your cars, wherever you are at work. We are thankful for you for tuning in. And for those of you who are watching after the fact, we are grateful for you as well, because we know sometimes it's not possible, but you make it possible by encouraging us and texting. And I get I get messages, and I get calls from friends who saying like, great job. I really appreciate that, because we know that the work is not easy, but you're making it doable. So I'm so grateful for you tonight. We have a great topic because this month, April, as you know, it's Financial Literacy Month, and we want to tackle issues and topics that are relevant and timely for you. So tonight's topic is homeownership matters. Why does that matter? Because we know that, oh my gosh, in my opinion, housing is a human right, meaning like you ought to have a place to call home, a place that is safe, affordable, and a place that you can be part of. But in order for you to achieve that ultimate American dream, there are so many things that you gotta do. Yes, homeownership is an American dream, but if you don't do what you need to do, and if you don't build the relationships that you need to build correctly, you can end up with the American nightmare. And we don't want the American nightmare for anyone, especially for those of you who are loyal viewers of this, actually I should say participant and community members of Let's Talk Money with Friends. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my guests. I have some great guests, friends who are on tonight, and I'm gonna give all of them an opportunity to quickly state their names, what they do in terms of profession, and quickly, because we have a great show and we wanna dive in and start answering questions for you tonight. So we'll start with Fabi. Fabi, why don't you say hello to our guests, to our audience, and let them know who you are and what you do.
My name is Fabi, short for Fabiola. I am a broker owner of Fab Living Realty. We are a boutique real estate brokerage that serves Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut.
And we can go next with Renee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Owens. I am the Vice President of Community Lending at a local bank in Boston, the Cooperative Bank, and I've been in banking for 40 years, and I am a homeowner.
Yes, definitely. And we have Miss Pepperty, who is from Canada. So we are excited because we'll hear a different perspective about home ownership and what does it mean to be a homeowner. Go ahead, Miss Pepperty.
My name is Pepperty Robert. I'm a naturopath, and I am help people heal themselves naturally using natural remedies. And I'm also always feel so honored to be in the show with Gabriel's. We have met online and we become great friends, right? That's the beauty of technology, huh?
I know, definitely. And, you know, I sometimes I find myself do that. I call everyone Miss, right? And it's a term of endearment. Like I'll be like, Miss Fabi, how you doing? It's just that, you know, and for those who are somewhat older than me, I do call Miss because out of respect, that's how I was raised. But I know we all here. I know you all first name. So Lisa, you go up next.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lisa. I am a marketing and social media professional. I've been in the industry for over 10 years, and I'm excited to share my experience on home ownership and also helping my mom and my aunt purchase their home as well.
Yeah, Lisa has done a lot in the last couple of years, helping other people and as well as, you know, being a homeowner herself. So, you know, we know it takes so much, right? You have to start thinking strategically and financially and in so many ways to get ready for home ownership. So my first question tonight, I wanted to ask, you know, for those who are in the industry, like Fabi, who sees folks who are like, I'm ready, I wanna buy. You know, how did you start your business and why did you decide to get into an industry that can be very polarizing? And how did you start thinking about, you know, I want to help families purchase homes and build that, acquire that piece of the pie? as a
Um, so I started about 8 years ago. Before I was in real estate, I was actually a credentialing coordinator. And I just wanted to do something more impactful. And after doing a lot of research and reading, I quickly learned that real estate is a way for people that don't have wealth, is a pathway to building wealth. And I didn't just want to learn about it for myself. I wanted to learn about it and then help other people. So that's how I got started.
Yeah, because we know that there's a lot of learning and teaching that has to happen when someone is getting ready to buy a home. Not only, where do I buy? How do I buy? How do I go? You'll share that a little bit more as a real estate agent. The homeownership process. Let me call an agent. But we know that in order for you to even think about calling an agent, not only do you have to start saving money, but of course, you have to get a pre-approval. So Renee, I know this is your part of the game here to really help families get qualified for a home that they can finance. I believe not only finance, but also keep. How did you get started in the industry and what have you done in the last few years to help families in your community? I know you've been for 40 years, but in the last few years, how have you helped families with homeownership?
Well, in Massachusetts, we do a lot of first-time home buyer classes. So I go and I participate in the classes, but I started in banking 40 years ago, initially just to have a job. I ended up in banking and in the mortgage department. And over time, just learning the different positions in the mortgage industry, I found my niche, so to speak. I wanted to be a loan officer so that I could help families and guide them through the process. So for the last probably 25, maybe 30 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been helping people acquire the dream.
Correct. So important. Acquiring that dream, as I said earlier, like you need to start getting ready. What are some of the primary activities? And I know recently you helped your mom and your auntie. What are some of the primary activities you encourage? Did you do, or have you been encouraging your family members to partake in, Lisa, as they're thinking about, hey, I want to buy a home?
Balancing a budget and also making sure you kind of have an idea of what you want, because then that way you can actually have an idea of how much you need to save, what do you need to do to get there to be able to buy your dream property. So figure out, where you want to live potentially, how much does that house cost, what might you need to save as a down payment, and then work your way towards that, making sure you have nothing in collections. Making sure you don't have any late payments, seeing if you can get rid of any negative discrepancies on your credit report removed in any type of way. So preparing yourself so that when you do find that dream property, it could be while you're casually looking, you can then get pre-approved and then get yourself going. So those are some of the things and get all your documents together, know where all your papers are, all your things are located. Because you will need to furnish a lot of information to the loan officer about your banking and all of that and your background, et cetera.
Yeah, I think it's so important to, we say create a plan and really think strategically about what you want and how you're going to go about doing it. And because when you go to Fabi and you go to Renee, you already have an idea, so they're not trying to kind of fish things out of nowhere. You already have an idea because you've had that conversation as a family. So that's where I want to have a conversation with Pepper too, because I know she's outside of the country, but you purchase a home, and we know that a home is not just a building or it's not just a house. It's a place that you want to raise a family. So what are some of the discussion and talk and conversation should you have with your spouse and your children, if you have them, as you're thinking, hey, it's time for me to own a home versus, another option? Perpetuity.
Yes, I remember the first time we were gonna be a homeowner. That was exciting. Actually, I was gonna have my third baby. So that was about time to get because when I immigrated, I was pregnant, 8 months pregnant. So it took a few years before we were able to get our home. And well, the first things we wanted to have a yard for the kids to play. And I wanted a big kitchen, as women love to have a nice kitchen. So when we get to the house and we see the kitchen and the room, so we were excited about it. But we think before you buy the home, we think about the neighborhoods.
Oh, I'm sorry. I muted you by mistake. Go ahead.
The neighborhood, the school, but also we had to discuss about the colors of the house and how we were gonna, what kind of, how can I say that? To be a home where there is will have love, because having children, how we gonna educate them, how they're gonna take care of the room, because in the beginning they have to share room. We did not have a lot of rooms, that was not a big house that we have. That's what we could afford as a new immigrant in the family. And I think what it was most important also, it's the atmosphere that we were gonna have in the house. What do we want to have? Because a house is a house. You can have a house, a big house, but it's not a home where there is love, where there is peace. And that was really important for us. And we have to sit down and discuss about that. And the family room was important too, because in the family room, that's the place that you and the children gonna spend time together.
Yeah, I wanted to have this conversation tonight about I'm sorry, I'm having a what's going on? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you actually see me too? Can you see me too? Okay, so I wanted to have this conversation tonight, not just about, go ahead and purchase a home. And we know purchasing a home is not just, it's not about like, I want to have a home and I want to have a place to call, to show to my friends. But I wanted, when we were having that conversation earlier, we said that a house actually is not a home until you made a decision to really create an atmosphere of a loving space. And later on, we're going to talk about not only your four walls, but also outside. We talked about being a good neighbor and how you can get involved in your community. So going back to you, Fabi, I know that, like when folks are thinking about like buying a home, they say, wow, this is a buyer's market and it's hard for me. Or this is a seller's market. It's hard for me. So really, when is it a good time to buy a home? Is it any time, or do you have to wait until it's your time, like as a buyer or a seller?
I always tell people the right time to buy a home is when you can afford it. Because I know there's a lot of news, it's good, the market's gonna crash, the market's not gonna crash. But when I talk to people about buying a house, I usually said the best time to buy is when you can afford it comfortably, and when you're ready to stop paying rent or somebody else's mortgage. So that's why I always say, and if you try to time the market, there's really no way to time the market, because if you look at real estate in its history, it always fluctuates. And I always tell first-time home buyers, when you're buying a home, make sure you're able to see yourself in that home in 5 to 7 years, because the average study shows that the average stay for a first-time home buyer in a home is about 7 years. So just make sure like you can afford it, because the purpose of going through all that is to not end up losing the home. So the best time to buy a home is when you create your plan of action, you look at your numbers, and you make sure you can afford it now and for the next 7 years, whether the market go up and down, because it will always fluctuate.
I agree totally.
I agree.
Did you want to say something? Yes, go ahead.
As a young couple, when we moved here, we did not. Our first home was not our not dream homes, and there was things that we have to fix. My husband is really handy, and then I remember when we went to the house, it was not the. It was an old house, and he's like, I can do this. I was so excited too because the kitchen was really nice, and the yard was. He's like, I can fix that. I've made all the floor, no problem. I know how to fix that. So he had to fix things in the house, and we paint the house ourselves with the color that we needed. I mean, that man really, I'm so grateful for my husband. Sorry, my heart is touching because he had worked so hard in the house to make it become a home for us. And those things that he has to work on his own, and he has to learn on YouTube to make it. So, but this is a house that we were able to afford, like you say, that we did not have to. It was like having an apartment paying. So.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a very emotional, a home is a very emotional thing. And like, when you don't have a safe place, when you don't have a habitable place, when you don't have a place that you can be proud of, it can bring a lot of anxiety and a lot of shame and a lot of pain to people. I know that very well. So I want to ask you, Renee, because I know when you purchase a home, we talk about finance and keep. It's an American dream again and again, we hear it. But my gosh, it can become an American nightmare. How do you work with, what are some of the mistakes that you see that, in addition to not thinking long-term, mistakes that some of your clients have made? And how have you as an organization been there to support your clients, even when they've made mistakes? Because, we're all fallible, we're not perfect. How have you as an organization? And that's why I want folks who are watching, who are interested in buying a home, to perhaps reach out to you and Fabi, who are realtors and brokers. Go ahead.
Well, the key thing is for me is to have the clients educate themselves on first-time home buyer classes. There are a lot of classes taught throughout the city. Home Buying 101, there's a landlord class. And then after, there's a class about maintaining and keeping your property and budgeting. When I have customers come in, I have them sit with me and we look at the numbers. Sometimes seeing the numbers on paper make it more realistic. A lot of times people are thinking, oh, I want this house and it's 600,000. But when they see the payment, it's a little bit different. You have to be realistic with your payment. And you need to work it out and think about all the other things that have to go with this mortgage payment. You still have to pay for heat. You still have to buy gas for the car. You have food you have to buy. There's other things that you are still going to have to buy along with keeping the roof over your head. And a lot of it is budgeting and being realistic and thinking not outside of the box, but thinking inside the box and outside the box. And thinking for the future. This payment that you're going to be making, you're going to be making it for 30 years. So you want to lay everything out so people look at it and see the numbers, which is very important, because just looking at a house and seeing how beautiful it is not just what's going to be out there. You have to look at the differences of what you can afford and what you can buy with what you can afford.
Yeah, you do have to do that. You do have to take, it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk that you have to take with the people who are working with you. So I think it was Fabio mentioned that, renting versus buying. So Lisa, when you were such a young person and you thought, even before you were married, you said, I want to own a home because I'm tired of renting. So what made you make that decision? Yeah.
Oh, I know that I wanted to do that since, the house that my parents had bought together, it was a 2-family, but it was very spacious. We liked the flexibility, and it also helped to pay the mortgage. One thing that I learned from my mother is like living within your means or even below your means so that you have the ability to kind of do other things that you love and enjoy. So when I was looking at a house, initially my husband wanted to do the single family. And I was like, I don't think that's the great route. I really do think we should start with the investment. So we compromised and we got something that had a full in-law apartment that could be expanded into a 2-bedroom apartment. So one of the things that I did was just knowing that I want something where that feels like I'm paying rent, but I still have someone who's helping me to pay the mortgage. But even more so thinking about the risks that also go with it. Can I afford this mortgage should my tenant not be able to pay? I need to feel comfortable with that because there are instances where people either don't pay, could be a year before you can evict them. So you need to feel comfortable to be able to hold that mortgage. So we made sure to budget that as well. But even long term, that helped me when I was unemployed during the pandemic to know that that person that I did have was working in the healthcare industry and they could pay their rent with no problem. So, that's something that was very important to me, knowing that it creates generational wealth. The house that I grew up in, it was only, I think, $250 when they bought it. It's now worth in Dorchester $900,000. Mm-hmm. So, that's something to think about, is that over time, house appreciates in value, and that's something that you can pass down and probably not to have to pay anymore. You don't even have to probably pay that full 30-year mortgage if you are appreciating value. So kind of looking at that, taking a look at the neighborhood.
I'm happy that, I remember maybe 5 or 6 years ago when you called in and said, Gabrielle, I really want to purchase a home. And as someone who did it at a very young age too, I said, yeah, that's the right thing, because I know, because I studied numbers. I always try to remind people I studied numbers. I know the future value of money, and I know I can calculate present value of money. So I know some of the benefits. And plus with my tax background, I knew the benefits of a home ownership. That's what I did. That's why I did it. So therefore, I'm asking you, Fabi, what are some of the benefits? Like when you're ready to close that and people are excited because they get to come in and they get to, again, show their friends, excited about the home because they like the bedroom size and everything. But what are some long-term benefits of being a homeowner that folks sometimes don't know? And that's the reason why many of them haven't exercised the option to get it done. We talked about that last week briefly.
Yeah, I think, and this is what I tell people all the time too, especially if they're hesitant, is when you think about real estate, think about like its uniqueness. Once we run out of space to build, you can't make more real estate. Whereas if you have a product, you can keep making more of it. You can't manufacture real estate. You can't make buildable places. So I like to tell people to think about that part. And right now people are complaining, and I'm pretty sure you saw my post that interest rate went up to 5%. It's not 3%. And I say, like, I saw someone post today, it's like, yeah, you may be paying 5% in interest rate, but how much are you paying when you're paying rent? What's your interest rate on that? Like, it's like to the maximum, it's 100%. Your interest rate on rent is 100%. So that's why I try to tell people too to think about. People say, oh, well, when things break down, they're expensive. But when you buy a home, you have to maintain it. And things don't break down every day. You can live in a house in 10, 15 years and nothing break. And all of a sudden you have to fix something. So don't be scared of things breaking down. There's tax benefit. You can settle into a neighborhood. You can actually be part and into a neighborhood and actually build a community of neighbors. Those are all beautiful things you can create with home ownership. So I think the main benefit is having something to call your own and being able to build a community that you're proud of. The tax benefits is just kind of like caveat.
And I've had conversations with friends and people in the community that say something to call your own. There's a lot of selfishness, like in terms of like Why is home a place where you call your home? Why can we? Well, unfortunately, we don't have social housing in this country. So because we don't have social housing, not everybody is entitled to a home as of right now in this country. So therefore, you have to make some decisions for yourself and your family to make sure that you own a home that you can, like you said, build community. Because I think many times that's how folks don't feel like, they don't value what they have because they haven't built community. They don't know their neighbors. I had posted something earlier this week and I said, be a good neighbor, be a good neighbor. But let me go back to you, Renee. Are you familiar with the capital gain exclusion when you own a home, especially when you own a home as an individual or as a couple? Like, people ask me all the time, how do I make money? How do I make money? How do I become wealthy? We talk about your health is your wealth. Now, when you own a home and are you familiar? Should you explain it, Renee, or should I go ahead and do a little?
You can go ahead and do it. You're doing it so well.
Yes, there's tax codes, right? We all heard of Section 8. We all heard of other sections, right? Because that's what I work on every day, the tax codes. There's a tax code, I believe is 121, where you actually, if you own a home as and like, for example, if you were in Boston, I don't know about, if you're in the United States, I don't know about Canada, but you own your primary resident and you live there for more than 2 years, or within 5 years, 2 years, right? If you live in your home for more than 2 years as a single person, you get to exclude and the home goes up in value. Now, you mentioned, Lisa, that your mom bought a home like years ago for $250. Now it's what, $900,000, right? Let's say I were to buy a home for $250 and now it's what, $500,000. I can actually call Fabi and sell my house and walk away with $250,000 tax free, no capital gains whatsoever. And I can take that money and do and invest in other things. This is one of the ways, they say in this country, like, you work, you pay taxes, you save money, you pay taxes, you spend money, you pay taxes. But when you own your primary resident and you live there for more than 2 years, there's a capital gain exclusion for primary resident. For a single person, it's $250. How much do you think it is, Perpetuity, for a married couple? Take a guess. Are there two people involved?
Double?
So it's twice as much. Yes, $500,000. You buy a house for $250, and now the house is what, $750,000. Let's not talk about the cost of selling and all that stuff. But let's say you're walking away with a check for $500,000 as a couple. You don't have to pay $1 in taxes. That's one of the benefits of home ownership that people don't know about, because the only other way for you to get money and not have to pay income taxes and capital gain taxes, it's either home ownership or the life insurance we'll talk about next week. When you leave a life insurance policy for a family member, they don't have to pay taxes on it. If your estate has to pay estate taxes, that's something different. But there are some benefits, and that's what many of us in the community don't know about. And we're sitting there paying high rent, $3,000 a month for rent, and not realizing that not only that are you paying the high interest because you pay in the rent, and also to you not accumulating wealth, because that equity that you build, that $500,000, that's how other communities have been able to create generational wealth. I know I went to your house, your mom's house this weekend, Lisa, and I'm so happy for this beautiful family. I know some awesome families in my community, and Lisa's family is one of them. And like the home is so beautiful, but the soul in the home, the souls that are in the home are even more beautiful. I had such great night's sleep staying with your mom and your aunt and your grandma this weekend, and they fed me like I was at Club Med. I just want to say thank you to the Exotus. But I just want to say, like, someone who's like on the verge saying, like, I just gave one great benefit. Someone who's on the verge of buying a home right now, and we say in home ownership matters. What would you tell them, Lisa? Now, in addition to being able to invite friends like myself and enjoy, what else? What
you get to create a place of peace where anybody that comes to your home feels like they're getting to see you and enjoy your presence. It's also a legacy that you can leave behind for your family or people that you care about. It's a place that you're making it a place of peace. Like, it's a place where you rest. We work so much every day. It's a part of the process, a part of living. And so it's your place of rest. So make it a place of peace that you can call your own. You can hang up anything on the wall. You can DIY something in your home. No one's going to say you can't put this here, you can't put that there. And then also looking at the overall benefit. And I think it's something that you should really consider if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, so many great benefits. I think about, having been able to have dinners at your house and invite friends and really enjoy the community. We talked about, again, being a good neighbor. We were saying it earlier today, because this is your home. You're not like a transient. You're not just coming and going like a tenant. It's very important for you that not only your four walls are safe and healthy, but you want to speak life into your neighbors, being a good neighbor. So how would you do that, Perpetuity? Because I know we mentioned some of that earlier today.
I know when my half neighbors, when they first move, I go and I knock their door and I bring the cookies and I say, welcome. They're like, what? In Canada, people say hi. They don't even say hi sometimes, So then I go in and knock them, then say, present myself. This is where I live. You're my neighbor. I see that you just came. And they were surprised of me doing that. But the people that's in my neighbor in the back, we don't have a fence. So we go to each other, we are like, they help my husband gardening, my husband helped them. And one of the things I found when you have a home, it's the creativity that you can have to like planting flowers and choose the colors. And my husband and I, we go to YouTube or look to see how to do painting, or to do so many different things around the house, especially if you do not have the money. And I think even if you have the money, working with your hand is something that makes you happy, so proud of you. I can remember the verse of the scripture that talk about walking with hand. There was something that is the body benefit from it. The neurotransmitter from your hands to your brain make you feel good. There is of love when you're working with your hand, and I think it's something that's being a home. Even in an apartment, you can do that, but you cannot change really too much around your apartment. But in the home, you can really do that. Working with your hand and feel good and happy about yourself, and that's gonna be additional years in your life having a home.
Yeah, definitely. It creates, I think earlier today, it was either with you or my sister, I was saying like, homeownership is like getting married. We talked about building your house on the rock versus on the sand. You
Yes.
have to do things that are very important, build your credit. We talked about creating a banking relationship and having conversation with someone like Renee, who is an expert in the mortgage business, and talking to someone like Fabi, who's an expert in the real estate business, being able to build that relationship. But we know that even with a marriage, sometimes you have a great marriage and then an evil eye. The evil eye is coming, wanted to destroy your marriage because they feel like they deserve it more than you. So what are some of the ways, if you find yourself in a home and for some reason you did everything, you did your due diligence, you've done everything right, but stuff happens, life happens, right? You become sick, or you go into a divorce, or you have a family member that you're taking care of, or your finances no longer what they used to be. What are some of the ways, Renee, that your community, your bank would be willing to help someone who's going to work? Because again, we want you to stay intact in that marriage, that financial marriage that you've made with your bank. But sometimes outside of your control, things happen, like a recession. As we talked about it last week, 2008 was a great recession, COVID-19, outside of everybody's control. And then all of a sudden they're falling behind on payments, and they know that they don't want to break up that marriage, but they want to work it out. They want to go to counseling, so to speak. What type of counseling do you offer at your company?
Okay. In the city of Boston, we have different nonprofits that is what they do. and they counsel. And they also will help a client that a lot of times people don't have the strength to call their lender and have that conversation with them. The lenders typically are always open to have discussion. I've worked at a number of different banks over the years, and I can remember one in particular where they worked something out where the customer could pay half the mortgage payment. They try to work something out. The banks don't want to foreclose on people. They want them to be able to live in their homes and just make their mortgage payments. So they are willing to work things out with them and help. It's not going to be always perfect. Nothing ever is, but you have to pick up the phone. You have to call the bank. You have to tell them what you're experiencing and what you're going through. And they are usually very good at listening and willing to work something out with you.
And I also think in addition, you need to know what's going on. You need to know your rights. And if you don't know your rights, you could call the bank. You could have the conversation. You could tell them exactly what they need to do, and they'll still find a way to break up your marriage, to break up that marriage or that relationship that you have with them, because there's nothing in it for them to help you, especially folks who are in the Black and brown community. The reason I'm saying that, Fabi, you are in the industry, and you know that we get calls. Those who have homes are being called every single day by quote unquote investors who wants to break up your marriage. I'm just making an analogy here. They just want to take away what you have. And sometimes the banks are working with them. Some of those banks are working with them to take away what you have. So they have no incentive to work with families. And this is not speculation. This is lived experience. So I would like to find out what else folks should do. We talked about it, Fabi, and I want to reiterate how important it is for homeowners to know their rights, to be part of the community and to be part of the community actions, activism, to know that when you buy a home, it was never something that was always available to everyone. So therefore, when you have it, you have to take it seriously, and you have to do more than just paying your mortgage.
Yeah. So one of the books that I always recommend to people in the Black and brown community is The Color of Law. And it talks about segregation practices from different banks and the government involved. And for Black and brown people, for everyone has a homeowner. For most people, it's the biggest investment. So you need to know your rights. And even when investors are calling and maybe you're falling apart, maybe you're falling behind where you're not maintaining your house as much, and people are calling, cash for keys, or even sometimes the bank offer cash for keys. It's worth it to speak to an agent, to speak to different people in the community to see what's going on, because sometimes people take cash for keys and then a month later they see their house on the market, or it's being sold in auction. So it's really important for people to know their options. And even when they speak to an agent, sometimes a good real estate agent may not be able to sell your home, but they can guide you. Okay, so maybe you should call the bank and ask for a loan modification, or maybe you should call the bank and ask for more time. So even if maybe the first conversation you want to have is not with your banker, but speak with someone in that field, maybe not for the purpose of selling your home, but to maybe better guide you on where you can find resources, on what your options are and your rights. And I know with COVID right now, if aside from the market being crazy, like you could literally sell your house the way it is with no problem. But a lot of banks, like Renee say, are willing to work with you if you're struggling. And don't be ashamed, pick up that phone call. Do you want to, especially if you're halfway into the mortgage, or and sometimes I think people forget, if you get to a point where you cannot afford your home and you've maintained it, you can sell it. It's not like a 30-year locked in commitment where if for some reason you can't pay it anymore, you're just stuck with it and you just kind of sit with your hands tied and don't call a professional to better guide you.
Yeah, but we all need guidance. And I think, again, I'm big on community. I know my neighbor next door. I know the one behind me. I know the one across from me. And I know the one the town next to me, because I'm a community person. I'm very involved. I do community organizing work in the community here in Boston. Everybody knows me. And the reason why I'm passionate about home ownership is because I've had first-hand experience with the wickedness of the industry. And I also have had great experience too with the industry. So it's so important to me that when someone gets excited about owning a home, I said, listen, become a member of your community, invest in your community. We were talking about it, and that will be my last question, Renee. You said that, you know what? Not only I'm a homeowner, but I have a tenant association in my town where we all homeowners get together and we talk about what's happening. So a building that's gonna be erected in my community, I'm not shocked, because gentrification and displacement, mass displacement is happening because people are in their homes, perhaps flipping to TV and not really knowing what's going on in the community.
We took, in my neighborhood, we needed a neighborhood association, and we didn't have one. So we decided to build one ourselves. And we got together and we did it, and we've had it for at least 15 to 20 years. And we were able to get the street paved, get new lighting for the street. We stopped someone from trying to build illegally on a piece of land that he inherited. And he thought the neighbors were just going to stand by and not pay attention to what was going on. And we stopped him, and they eventually just let the land go. And the city acquired it, and they just finished building what we wanted in the neighborhood. So banding together and fighting for your rights as a community, it's something that is very important. To have a say in what goes on in your community is very important.
It's very important. Generational wealth, leaving a legacy for your kids. Many folks are not able to do that because how sad it is to buy a home for $250,000. You want your children to be able to live in Boston generationally, and then that house gets taken away from you because you did not know some of your rights and some of the ways that you could afford to maintain your home. And again, Pepperty, I just love the conversation we had earlier today about a home is not just a house. A home is where the love, the heart, you can welcome friends. Like I felt so loved this past weekend because my friends have a home and they're able to welcome me into their home. And also, just like, a place that you can, it's more than just the four walls, your community, your neighbors, they're all people that you have to, if you're a person of faith like me, you got to pray for them so that they can succeed, because when they succeed, you succeed as well. So any last word? I just wanted to have this conversation because it's very important to me. I cannot wait to welcome all of you in my home soon, because I know COVID is almost over, but there have been some challenges that has kept me from doing that. And I cannot wait to be able to do that soon. So will we say the last word? Who would like to say something before we leave? Go ahead, Pepperty.
I think before even we get a home, to have an intention. What kind of home that I want to have? What atmosphere that I want to have? The love, the respect and things. I think it will gonna really guide you exactly where you want to go, because as you are planning to get the home, plan also what's gonna happen in the home, what you want to accept. And I found that naturally you will incline to do what you wanted to do. It changed the whole things. Even when you wake up in the morning, we're talking about that. Speak life to your home. Put some essential oils that's gonna make you feel good. So that's what I wanted to share. And
play music, Yeah, play music, create a home. Because I've been to, because one of the work that I do, I've been to places and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more these folks could have. They have a house, but they don't have a home. So it's very important that we create a home because I think I mentioned it several weeks ago, months ago, it trickles to the community and then the society and then the country. Lisa, would you like to talk about why is it important to build a home, not just have a house?
I think it encompasses everything that you said. It's kind of a place of peace, like I mentioned before. It's a legacy that you can leave behind. It's something to call your own that you can be proud of. It's your space. It's uniquely you, and no one's house looks the same unless they have maybe the same designer. But even then, things would be in different places. So just knowing that, having that place to call your own that is yours is a place that's very special. And I love the fact that you're thinking about intention perpetuity because it really is. And you're manifesting it into your life. So if you don't have that home that you want yet, just know that you can manifest that into your life and it will come.
And Renee?
For me, it's love of family, love of community. That's what it's always been for me. And I tell my customers that all the time. It's going to happen when it's supposed to happen for them. And just think of it with an open heart and be realistic, and it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And you, Fabi?
I will echo some of what Renee said as well, because right now it's really difficult for people that are buying. There's a lot of competition. The whole process could be stressful. You can be put in offers after offers. But what Renee said is so right. I tell my buyers, it's like when you walk into the perfect home, you feel it, especially if you take the time and do what Perpetu said and like make your intentions, like manifest what you want. When you walk into that perfect home, you feel it. And for the people that are trying to buy right now, like I said, the real estate market is like a roller coaster. Don't give up because it's worth it. Yeah. And you have to live somewhere. So
I know. So as I said, I was talking to my sister about a situation that I'm experiencing and I have to deal with tomorrow. And she said, what was your intention when you came here? And I said, I had done what Perpetuity, before I met Perpetuity, I had done it, prayed over it, manifested it, and really was very intentional. And the American dream, we all, when you go to school, high school, college, they're saying like own a piece of the pie, the American dream at home. But also, of course, we know that the American dream can become a nightmare. And some of us have experienced part of that nightmare, but God, right? So therefore, you have to have faith. You have to know what you want, and you need to do the work that you need to do in order for you to be able to finance, and keep your home. Because we don't want you to just have a house or a building. We want you to create a home. That's why my friend Perpetu, I wanted her to be part of this conversation because she has perspective about what it takes to just not have a building or a house, but to really build a home. And you all shared that as well. So thank you so much. My prayer and my hope is that every one of you would have a home because I believe housing is a human right. Go and exercise the option to have a little piece of the pie. And even if you're renting, make it your home. Thank you so much for your time. Have a blessed night. Please tag, share, and make a comment. We want to know what you think about the show. We want to know what you think about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And also we want you to share with your friends because they are friends right now who are looking for advice. They're looking for people to speak life. And we believe that we speak in life because we're all about life. Thank you.